Simon says, love is, stay tuned. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli Zahl with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And we're doing a series from a gentleman that I have a bromance with, Simon Sinek, from a number of his interviews and things that he's written and so on, and a few tidbits, of course, of my own. And one of the things, and I want to get right to it today, you know, Simon Sinek, his focus is always on the workplace, you know, creating a great culture at the workplace, making it something where you're, you know, that it's your right to love your work. It's not a privilege. And as we've discussed before, unfortunately, the numbers indicate it's the other way around. 75% of people are dissatisfied at the workplace. Only 25% are like, yeah, I'm going to work. So let's see what we can do to change that out. So anyway, shall we get back to love, Eli? Simon Sinek says, and I heard this, I thought it was great. Love is giving someone the power to destroy you and trusting that they won't use it. Wow. Eli, you're going to find that out, my friend, if you haven't already. You're 16. I know you've had a few girlfriends, and you know, I don't know if you're the one that gave the other person the walking papers, but when you receive your walking papers from the woman of your dreams, so to speak, or not Miss Right, but Miss Right Now, okay, the point is, when you get your walking papers, it hurts. I remember my first feeling like that was in the 7th grade. I had it in the 7th grade, I had it in high school, I had it in college, I had it after college. You know, that feeling never goes away when you give your love to someone. People have been handing me my walking papers a lot, haven't they? Okay. Anyway, when that happens to you, it really rips out your insides. It affects you. You can't eat, you don't think, you're focusing on, oh, if I would have done this and I would have done that, so on and so forth. That's love. But once again, Simon Sinek is somebody that's a pundit for the workplace. So how does he relate that to the workplace? Okay, he says the same thing is true in business. You know, leaders are always asking for input. They want out-of-the-box thinking. But a lot of them are unwilling to put their trust in play. If you give responsibility to an individual, allow them to make the game plan for achievement. When you give somebody an assignment, let them figure out the how. This is how I'm going to do it. Why? Because you hire them because they believe what you believe. Or as a leader, if that, you know, you hire them for the skill, you created the vision for what you want to achieve, and they were able to embrace that decision, and they want exactly the same thing that you want. So they have the same, theoretically, passion for a particular outcome that you have. Give them the opportunity to create a game plan. People always work harder and longer to make sure that the game plan that they devised and championed will work versus a game plan that's thrust upon them. If the enterprise is successful using that game plan, be certain as the leader to give public praise and recognition. But if the plan is less than successful, be sure to have the back of that individual. In that way, you encourage continuous innovative thinking. Why? Because if you don't have their backs, then there is a regression. What's the regression? Why should I bother to believe what they believe if my ideas are not respected? Give people the chance to make a mistake. That's how they learn. That's how they grow. Why should I bother to believe what they believe if my ideas are not respected? There's nothing that will draw people closer to you as a leader when you give them support after a failure. Don't you embrace that posture as a parent with your children? oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry that that event, that circumstance, that whatever that you wanted to work out didn't work out. But I still love you unconditionally. Failure is not the end of the world if you keep it in the proper context and perspective. What's the proper context and perspective? Failure is the genesis for a new starting line. And the success formula tells us that success is not one straight marathon run, one sprint. It's a succession of new starting lines. Give trust to your partners, your employees. You give them the power to destroy your business, but trust that they won't. Sounds like love, doesn't it? You give people responsibility. When you treat people with respect, when you hire people that believe what you believe, it creates a culture of unity and eliminates the culture of finger pointing. Eli, let me give you a basketball analogy. A great coach doesn't point at one misplay, one missed foul shot, one bad call by the refs after a heartbreaking loss. Why? Because the game has all sorts of activity and there are all sorts of mistakes made. That's the way the game is played. There's good things that happen, there's bad things that happen. If you lose by 1 point, why point to the guy at the end of the game that missed the foul shot? Or why point to the referee? Other people made mistakes during the game. In fact, your best coaches always point the finger at themselves. The team wasn't as prepared as they should have been. I should have called a timeout, or I made a bad strategic decision. Those are the people that are the leaders that accept the blame for the ultimate outcome. Success always comes from previous failure. I've told this story before. When I was in my second game as a starter, as a junior in basketball, one of the things that happened was I had the ball with like 4 seconds to go. We're down by a bucket, and I was the other people in the game were more experienced than I. I had the ball, and I didn't take the shot. I passed the ball, and I passed the ball experienced. I got it, threw it up in the air, hopefully that it would go in. Everybody looked at me and said, "Why didn't you take the shot? You had the shot." All right? Well, certainly I did. Certainly is a mistake. But as I pointed out before, in practice, we had never gone over that particular scenario, so it wasn't something that I was ready for. But nevertheless, someone that played as much basketball as I did should have known that. I mean, what's the story in the driveway going 3, 2, 1, boom? All right, every kid has done that. I should have been able to do that. That was a big failure for me. Everybody looked at me. But I took that failure, and when I became a coach, I was certain to insert that scenario into a practice at least 2 or 3 times a week, so that when we did come onto that particular thing in a game, at the end of the game, my players knew what to do. I would not allow them to make that mistake. Now, as I preach from this pulpit repeatedly, the successful team operates just as the successful individual operates. There's a compelling vision. You chunk the issues down to the smallest components, and you solve them through trial and error. What does error indicate? It indicates that you need a new starting line. The magnetism of the shared vision, because it is embedded in everybody, a failure doesn't diminish the vision with a setback. It's an invitation for innovation to reach a new starting line. When you can transfer that mindset to your team, you have established a winning culture. A culture that perseveres to a desired, obsessed outcome. And remember, let's not ration the passion, let's Fashion the Passion. I'm Eli's dad.